Assalamu alaikum. Today is our third online lecture. Today's lecture is related to the project management and information technology, and it is divided into two parts. So the first part will be about stakeholder needs and requirements. Who are the stakeholders and how they can affect or they can be affected from a project? What are their needs and requirements? So let's start with the stakeholders definition. A stakeholder is an individual, group, or organization who can be affected, or affected by, or perceive itself to be affected by a decision, activity, or outcome of a project. Stakeholders are either directly involved in the project or have interests that can be affected by a project's outcome. If I say in simple words, stakeholders are those people or those organizations which are directly or indirectly involved in a project. Or you can say a project will directly or indirectly affect them. We will take a few examples, like here it's given project team, project manager. These are the very common examples, because of course project team is working for the project manager, sponsors, customers, they all are stakeholders, but these are very common examples. We will go deep into who are the stakeholders. So we speak about the types of stakeholders. First type is internal stakeholders. So from as the name you can say internal. Whenever in an organization we talk about internal, external, outsource, these are the terms commonly used in any organization. Internal means people who are working directly for the company or the direct or permanent employees of the company, or the people who are involved in the internal affairs of the company. Outsource means people who belongs to some other organization, but they are working on a contract with this organization. Outsource means people who are working for the company but they do not belong to that company are called outsource. And external means people who are not working for this organization but they are linked with this organization with the project or any of the. So the internal stakeholders includes a sponsor. Why sponsor is an external? Because a sponsor is directly investing his time or his money or a place to the company. Or you can say the sponsor is internal stakeholder because a company is running with the help of a sponsor, so he is involved in an internal affairs of the company. So that's why a sponsor is an internal stakeholder. An internal customer or a client if the project started due to any internal need. Okay, project is always started whenever there is a need. For example, inside company there is a need of an new department, and that department is in the favor of finance. So finance will be customer because this is an external, so even the internal department of companies can be your stakeholders. Like there is a team, and that team needs to control the people working in the field. So the company wants to make a new department which helps that team for monitoring and controlling. So in this case, that team will be the internal stakeholder. A project team, of course, someone who is directly involved in a project will be the internal stakeholder. Program or project manager also, management of the company or the departments, or every department have their teams and managers. So the department for which the company is making that project is also involved. So the team and managers of the department is also, they are the stakeholders. Second type is external stakeholders. As from the word, it's also clear that these are the people who are not from the company. These stakeholders are not directly involved but are engaged from outside and are affected by the project outcome. For example, an external customer or a client. For example, we are doing a project. So, whose project is that? That is our customer's project. So, he is also the stakeholders. The end user. For example, we are making a product. The people who will be using those products in the end, they are also the stakeholders because they will be affected from this project. Subcontractors. Subcontractors are the companies which help us to do different tasks during our projects. Like during our project, we need to make some towers, we need to make some road, we need to make provide electricity. So for electricity, we will contact the company providing electric connections. He is the stakeholder. For making roads, we will contact the companies which are involved in constructing roads and bridges. And for the tower, we will contact the civil companies which are involved in making steel or any other type of towers. So all these subcontractors are external stakeholders. Fourth one is a supplier. Supplier is a company which provide us things we need during our project. Like if we use subcontractor for making road or for making a building, so all the materials which we will use during the project will be provided by a supplier. So he is indirectly involved in the project. That's why it's also the external stakeholders. The government, of course, government is always the stakeholder because whatever project a company is doing, they are doing by keeping themselves under the laws. So whenever they are obeying the laws or working for as per laws, so government is also involved. Local communities, after the government, there are also some rules and regulations and laws which need to follow of the, like for example, if we are making a high rise building in an area, so after government, the local community also have some laws about the buildings, that the building should be of that specific height because it can affect the schools or some other community activities. And also for example, if we make a high rise building in an area and around that buildings, all the buildings or houses are not of that, you can say, that tall or of that big, So there will be specific rule for that building, that that building cannot exceed with the fourth floor or fifth floor. So these are all local communities laws which a project team or a company or organization should follow. The last one also, media. Of course, media is also directly involved, but they are external stakeholders. Why are stakeholders important for a project? As I told you earlier, that stakeholders are the people or organizations who are directly or indirectly involved in a project. So why they are so much important for a project? Stakeholders have different level of duties and authorities when contributing on a project. This level may differ as a project proceed. It can range from essential contribution to project sponsor. Yeah. Stakeholders have. So this means that stakeholders. This point indicates that stakeholders have different level of duties and authorities. This means, like in the planning phase of a project, we divided the duties or we divided the activities as per schedule. So same at that, on different level of the project, our stakeholders priorities or authorities or their duties will be different. Like in subcontractors, they are the stakeholders, but when we are going to start the project, for example project of a building, first we will make the road so that we can reach to the site from the main gate to the site, and also our suppliers can provide us raw material there. So the first will be the road. So this is the priorities or authorities which are involved in those. Their duties are at different level there, and the suppliers who are going to use that road, their duties at that level will be different. So as the projects have different levels, so the stakeholders also have different levels of duties on each stage of the project. Some stakeholders may also detract from the success of project either actively or passively. These stakeholders need the project manager attentions during the whole time of project life cycle. Okay, these types of stakeholders are like people who are outsources, who are not belong to company, but they are working for the company on the behalf of some other organization. So these type of stakeholders are always connected with the project managers because their performance matters a lot. So in order to show their performance, they are linked with the project managers too much. Third, stakeholders identification is a continuous process during the entire project life cycle. Identifying them, understanding their level of effect on a project, and satisfying their demands, needs, and expectations is essential for the success of the project. So this is also that why they are important. There, a company or a project manager or program manager should always understand the demands and needs of their stakeholders. Otherwise, it can, if for example we don't understand the need of our subcontractors or contractors on any stage of the project, and the work is stopped due to miscommunication, so it will affect the project. So that's why communication with the stakeholder is very important. Just as stakeholders can affect the project objective positively or negatively, a project can be perceived by the stakeholders as having a positive or negative results. So as project can affect the stakeholders, stakeholders can also affect the project. It can be a positive effect or a negative effect. One of the most important responsibilities of a project manager is to manage the stakeholders expectations. It is the same point that we discussed, that a project manager should always be in communication or connection with the stakeholders so that they can fulfill their needs on time, they can understand their problems, and they can provide the conflicting solutions for the conflicting points. That is very important. Otherwise, if they are not communicated well, then on any stage it can affect the project. This is a circle which gives an wide overview of project stakeholders. The first one is sponsor, that we also studied, because they are investing their time and money directly into the project. That's why they are the project stakeholders. Customers and users. Customers are the people who are giving us the project, and users are the people who are going to get the benefit of that project. So that's why they are involved in a project and they are called the stakeholders. Sellers. Sellers are very important because they sell their, for example, for marketing we use marketing companies, they are selling their services. And for end product we will use retailers, resellers, these to sell our projects. So all these type of people who are selling their product or selling their services, they are involved in a project. Organizational groups, all the departments that are involved of the organization who is doing project, they are the stakeholders. Business partners, people who are getting the profits from the company, it can be from the sponsors or the business partners, they are also the stakeholders. Same functional managers, all the managers involved. In other stakeholders, you can say the subcontractors, the outsource people, all the, and the supplier, of course, who are supplying the material or the raw materials for the project, they are stakeholders. Because if, for example, if a project is failed in the middle, then supplier will also be affected, because his project is also in the middle. He cannot provide now more supply or materials to the project because project already closed. So a project can directly or indirectly affect the suppliers. That way they are also the stakeholders. So all these which we discuss, they are discussed here. Sponsors, same you can read now from here, because I already give you an wide overview of all this. So these are the theoretical points. We can also go through this fastly. Sponsors, a sponsor is a person or group who provides supplies or support to the projects. Customer and users, same, end user and front users. Sellers, who are the external companies work on the contract. Business partners and organization groups, functional managers, and other stakeholders are same, our institutions or all the subcontractors who are involved in the project. So the second part, the first part was about stakeholders, and now we know that who are the stakeholders and how we have to take care of those stakeholders. Now the second part, we will talk about the project phase and life cycle, because this we will do in our part 2 of the video.